Welcome to the main sCave here at the TCG television that airs every Friday at 8 p.m. If this is your first time to be here, we would like you to hit that subscribe button. We would like you to comment and ask questions. If you have any suggestions of topics that we should share, also suggest here. We'll also be sharing our email address. If you have, if you would like us to host you on this show, just to share your story about the challenges that you've been experiencing and the things that we are handling also in this show, you are welcome. Now, the main sCave is anchored at the cave of Adullam in the Bible, which is in 1 Samuel chapter 12 from verse number 1. When you read there, we are told about men who are distressed, men who are in debt, men who are depressed, men who had many challenges in life. They gathered there to David, and David became a captain over them. So on the show, I have my co-host, and I don't know, you want to say something about the cave of Adullam?
Thank you. Now, it is interesting that you're bringing up this conversation. And because the cave of Adullam gives us a perspective about men.
Sure.
And why men need to retreat into a cave. One, for mental healing, but two, for retrospection. How many times do we as men sit down and take time to just retrospect? Where am I in life? Where have I come from? Where am I going? Because ideally, normally, men's life revolve around you're always on the run. You want to meet some bills. You want to achieve certain goals. At the end of the day, we don't have time to ourselves where we can just retrospect.
Sure.
And so the cave of Adullam, in fact, gives a basis for this particular conversation. Because then it allows us to now sit back and ask ourselves as men, what are we doing about our mental health?
You're so much welcome. Actually, today we decided that we are going to handle the mental health among men, and because we know these are very pertinent topic that we need to handle. And so maybe just to give you a little background, we know we've been handling men and wealth. Men and wealth, that topic is not yet covered to the full extent, because we are going to bring you a guest on the show, and this is a guest who has been able to walk through the journey of wealth creation. And now when they tell us you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, like they are speaking out of experience, and we would like the experience to teach us, because for us, we are saying that journey, we are trying to create wealth for ourselves, but we are not yet there. So we feel like we need to bring somebody who has walked the journey, and when they speak, their experience is speaking on their behalf. So today we are bringing you another aspect, because mental health and men and wealth, these things are inseparable. The greatest challenges I've had men go through, especially mental challenges, has begun with wealth. And so today we want to introduce mental health, but we also are aware that we need to bring this guest who is going now to take us through the journey of the biblical way, or the right way to create wealth, wealth that lasts. So we will be doing that. And so that we just don't forget, we are being hosted here by our amazing hosts, our amazing partners, that is the Sugar and Crust. For your snack, for your tea, for your coffee, this is the place that you need to be. So welcome very much. And today we delve deeper into mental health and mental illnesses in men. And with my co-host, we are going to just delabor, trying to understand some of the things that maybe we have looked at and ignored. Maybe we never knew that is actually an issue to do with mental illness or mental health. So please bring us into perspective when we talk about mental health, especially in men, with the cave of Adullam. You understand? And just something else. The cave of Adullam, it was able to produce men. If you read the Bible, you're going to meet some of the 30 mighty men of Israel who are produced from the cave of Adullam. So we hope that by the time we are done with this show, we are going to have men who are weak, who are distressed, who are oppressed, who are depressed,
hopeless even,
coming out of the cave of Adullam through this main sCave that we are hosting here, and they are becoming mighty men in their space, in their small world, in their big world, in their families. All right. So mental health in men. What do you want to say?
Wow. So it is interesting that traditionally things like depression, things like what now we call frustrations in the workplace, in the at the family level, were not considered to be things men would struggle with. In fact, Meya, when growing up, uliambiwa mtoto wa kijana hali. And so from the onset, as men, we've been put in a cocoon where we are made to believe that our mental health should be a taboo topic. But should it really? Because if you fall sick today because you're having a flu, you go to the hospital.
Yes.
But do we ever sit down and ask ourselves, is depression in men something worth thinking about? Mental health is close to my heart because I have seen men struggle really bad. But at the face value, they won't show it.
Sure.
Because you're supposed to be a strong man.
Of course, if you're not strong, then are you a man?
Exactly. And so we've gotten to a point where as men, we are struggling, we are suffering, but what should we tell? Who will actually sit down with you? Wanasemanga depression ni ugonjwa wa wazungu. So as a man, who will you sit down and tell, I am depressed? They'll be like,
actually, if you did that, that is a sign of weakness. You're not a strong man.
And that is why we need to have this conversation.
Yes.
Because as men, we've been put in a cocoon where our feelings don't matter. And so if you're struggling with anything, the assumption is, as a man, deal with it. Where job will utafanya?
Shughulika nayo kimwanaume.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, you brought up a generation of men who have so many feelings inside, but don't know how to deal with them. And this is a man who you expect to be a father. This is a man who you expect to be a husband. This is a man you expect to be a leader. And that's why you have a problem in the society. Exactly. So whatever you're saying with regards to the cave of Adulam, it actually brings us to this conversation of, as a man, when you're weak, when you're wounded, when you're depressed, what is the safe space that you can go to so that you're able now to retrospect, you're able to heal, so that by the time you're going out there to be a father, a husband, a teacher, a leader, you've healed. And as you said it correctly, these men came out of these caves and they were warriors. But do we have such spaces today? And so that's why we have this man cave, because it's only in such settings where now we start having conversations that actually matter to men. Mental health, for instance.
Sure. Wow. So you have just brought out something that that resonates with me so much, and I believe even with my viewer, that growing up we've been asked not to do certain things because we are men. For example, I tell my friends, I tell people, I don't remember the last time I cried myself. Why? Because growing up as a small boy, something would happen, you would fall and injure yourself. But if you try to cry, this is one thing I used to be told. Unalia kwani wewe ni mwanamke. And no man wants to be a woman. Apart from the things that are happening currently, we are not going to get into those other things today. But growing up, the societal standard that was set up for men has just been so difficult. Men have been taught you are not supposed to unaongea kwani wewe ni mwanamke. Una shida hapo, uko na shida. Kuwa mwanaume, solve your problems. And now that is what the society has set up as a standard for men. And so it becomes so hard.
Makes a lot of sense. So during my wedding, for some reason I got overwhelmed and I really cried. I remember the pastors were there, they were praying and all. And for some reason I was just overcome by emotion. Interestingly, my wife didn't even cry a teardrop. Of course, her explanation was she didn't want to ruin her makeup. Well,
of course, they do say that. They do say that.
And then somebody asked me.
Even the
somebody asked me later, and they're like, so as a man, what are you doing? What exactly are you doing? And it starts to tell you that from a societal point of view, wewe unafaa kukazana na feelings zako. Just hold on to your feelings however way you will, regardless of whether you want to explode. It is your man. Just deal with the emotions. And so this now brings us to the social stigma that is the society. Because the society from the onset has shown us that when we come on, if you're a man, when was the last time you told your daughter or son, I love you?
You nimeonea Nairobi, by the way.
It is foreign to you.
Even money and Nairobi.
So basically, what that tells you is, as a man, there are things that you will always struggle to do. And eventually, the ripple effect is that your mental health is affected.
Sure.
Because it's like, it's a boomerang. You see, you keep piling on pressure.
Guys, just not the word boomerang. Yes.
Eventually, it push. And everybody is like, at what point did this man get here? But it's because it is we call it atomic habits, right? It is something that has been piling up over time. So as a man, we need to start having this conversation and say, it is okay for you to fall apart.
It's true, yes.
It is okay not to be okay. So that now, as men, we're able to get to a point where now we can talk about these things fair and square.
Yes.
Meya, my landlord just locked my house. My family is sleeping outside. What can I do? Very few men will actually sit down and have these conversations. Meya, I'm falling into debt. The bank is on my neck. As a man, I'll come here, act like everything is okay, go home.
Sleep.
But where am I going home? I don't have a home.
It's true.
I know probably you could help me, but I don't have the courage to actually come and say, I am struggling. But it's not because I want to. It is a society that has boxed me into believing I can always sort my issues.
Wow.
And how many men are living a lie today?
It's just...
So we have a group of men who don't have direction. They're supposed to be leaders, they're supposed to be protectors, they're supposed to be fathers, they're supposed to be all these things. But have they been able to lead themselves? No, because mental health is something that is actually killing them.
You know, you have just reminded me the scripture that says...
You look sad, by the way. It's a deep conversation, right?
I look very sad because these are things that are happening and men have nowhere to go to and they have nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
So that's why as you're talking, I'm reflecting on it and I'm like, it is sad. Yeah, it is really sad because men have been left out. In the wake of empowerment, girl-child empowerment, we have seen... I remember when I was in school, okay, I'm not saying that is a good thing, but when I was in primary school, I would lead, by God's grace, in examination.
You're not saying.
I'm not saying it, but I would have other men almost 9 behind me, then the first girl will appear. And that was the norm. It was normal because my school was a mixed school, so what do you expect? And the routine is you can't allow a lady to beat you academically. The society won't take it because that is the standard. And so in the wake of girl-child empowerment, they empowered girls and did not train men how to handle an empowered girl. And now that has become a challenge and we see men depressed, but they do not know, they even don't know that they are depressed. So I think even as we continue handling this topic, we will be able to maybe look at the indicators, what a man should consider when they begin seeing certain signs. They can be able to tell, I might be falling into mental illness and this needs to be addressed. So this, it is, men are suffering.
Okay.
And men some have been left out. You're bringing out the issue where a man is falling into debt and the house has been locked and then they can't tell anybody because what the society expects, that you must show up as a man. Man up and face it. So I think this is the situation that is most probably leading men into addiction, all types of addiction.
All types of addictions, yeah.
Some have even destroyed their families physically. Yeah, because some cannot take it, and so they're like, maybe the best thing to do, let me end this thing. So they are applying a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So wow.
Now you talked about science, and I know this is heavy, and that's why we'll take so many pauses during this conversation.
I know, yeah.
So there's a recent survey that concluded that most men would rather spend an evening in a bar than go home early.
And they rise up very early to go to work.
Exactly.
Yes.
So they'll come in very late and get out very early. And so the conversation was, But why would you want to come home very late and get out of the house very early? And the simple explanation was, nobody understands me at home.
That's true.
When I come home, my child is like, Baba, teacher says, school fees is not paid, house help is not paid, gas imeisha. Every time you come home, it's like
empty.
It's like an ATM.
Yes.
So you get home and it's withdraw, withdraw. So they're like, I'd rather not come home early. You see, you're postponing a problem, but you'd rather not face it.
It's true.
And so you've raised a very important point here on at what point do you actually even start knowing that you're falling into mental health issues. Now, just go to social media today and tell me, how many people did you see at the beginning of the year that you no longer see? Interestingly, social media has become an interesting yardstick to actually know which space someone is in. You'll be seeing someone constantly online, then all of a sudden they disappear. All of a sudden you feel like you want to have your own space. You don't want to interact with me. We had a set here, but all of a sudden you're finding excuses. You know, today I might not be able to come because of ABCD. Of course, you know they're just reasons, right? Now, I have a friend of mine who in 2021, we completed school together. And in 2021, he was actually doing engineering. Then one time, I noticed I no longer see this guy. I no longer see this guy online, and I didn't even follow up. So we had a gathering of all students, and this guy was a very active member of that specific group. But all of a sudden, he was not coming. Now I speak about this guy because we've had this conversation even on our socials. This guy was promising. In fact, this guy had been number 1 in our class from Form 1 to Form 4. This guy did STEM subjects. This guy scored an A. Then one day, we see online that XYZ has committed suicide.
Wow.
And we're like, but this guy seemed to have his life in order. So what actually happened? Then somebody says this guy started falling into alcohol 2 years ago. This guy disappeared from the social spaces 2 years ago. So there was a 2-year break between the time he actually started falling off and the time he committed suicide. But did anyone ever follow up? Now the cave of Adulam can also have another side to it, the cave of depression. Where rather than going into a safe space, you now go into a free fall distraction. Unaona ile gear, umeachilia gear, free gear, you're going straight into distraction. That is what happened. So how many men out here are in that phase, that 2 years, that 2 year phase between at the time where you started falling into depression and the time you finally decide enough is enough.
Wow. So guys, as you can see, this is literally a sad topic for me, but as sad as it is, we have to face it head on. So we want to hear your views. We want to see what you feel on that comment section. Just write what you think, whatever you're talking about. Have you been through it? How have you managed to conquer it? Or if you are still in it, then maybe we are here to offer some solutions for you. We might not really solve the entire thing, but we believe by talking about it, because one thing I know, by talking it out, sharing it out, somebody said that a problem shared is half solved. So maybe by just talking up and expressing yourself how you feel, because I think the TCG television, that comment section is a place for you to interact and just let us know how you feel. And also, as I said, if you have been through this, you are a man there, you've been through this, and by God's grace, you have managed to come out. So you are the right person for this show, because people are out there and they do not know what to do. They are really distressed. They don't know what to do. But we have the main sCave here. We handle this topic. We will bring you at the show. You'll tell us what you went through, how it all began, how it went down the line, and how you are able to overcome. Because at the end of it all, we expect that we are going to overcome. We will overcome. Sure. So you have just talked about one indicator where people are withdrawing from the socials. because you find like a person like myself, I'm very social. So if I suddenly disappear and you are not able to trace, if we were supposed to meet and I'm giving you excuses, and it's not a one-time excuse, it is a consistent excuse just not to be there, then I think I'm able to detect that most probably there is a problem. So I don't know, is there any other indicator that you think maybe apart from the withdrawal, what else?
There are so many indicators, Meya. And even before I come to this conversation, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt suicidal? This is a safe space. It's a man's space.
Yes, this is a man's space. And personally, I have been through experiences that would have triggered that. But by God's grace, and this one I don't want to, I do not want to take credit for it, but I think it's by God's grace, because God dropped an idea in my head, and this has been my slogan up to now. And I got that idea when I was 10, at the time when I almost slept on top of a tree because I had nowhere to sleep.
Wow.
But God dropped an idea. He told me that no matter what, life must go on. So whatever decision you take, that decision must first be in support for life, and then other things can follow. So I have been in difficult situations, but by God's grace, I have not gotten to that place where I feel suicidal. But those situations were pressing. And if God had not helped me by His mercy and bringing that slogan, which is still very strong even up to date, I get myself into a situation, and before I make any decision, the first thing is, no matter what, life must go on. And so every decision that I have to make, I'm now aware that it must be in support for life. But I know maybe other people, they have not been there. By maybe God has not helped them to get this. And so people have committed suicide, and it's so sad.
And that is another indicator of mental health issues.
Yes.
The moment you start feeling like you want to end it all, the moment you feel you've gotten to a corner and you feel the only way around it is to end your life, that could be enough indicator that you're struggling with mental health.
Yes.
And most people don't actually realize that it is an intertwined conversation. Depression, suicidal thoughts, and eventually even ending your own life.
True.
It is a sequence of events. And so the reason why I'm asking you this is because someone left a suicide note some time back, and he said, when you see this note, know that you are not my friend.
Wow. Now that is even sadder.
And so people were like, but what does this guy actually mean? What this guy was meaning in essence is the fact that I went through all these phases and I've actually gotten here. If you're seeing this note, then you're not my friend. Because if I'm your friend, I should be able to see through your eyes. When I ask you, are you okay? And you tell me, yes, I am. That answer for me should not be complete.
Exactly.
I should be able to ask you more and go like, how is your work? How is family? How are you doing mentally?
Yes.
But do you ever have those conversations? I'll call you and go like, oh yeah, unaendeleaje? Niko poa.
Hata mimi niko poa.
Hata mimi niko poa. Uko poa? Hata mimi niko poa. Basi tuko poa.
Wow.
But in essence, there's much more to niko poa than we actually appreciate. And so every time you feel like you want to end it all, there's a problem. So withdrawal, suicidal thoughts. And again, all this also triggers back to your moods. Your moods. Leo uko sawa, today you want to be all over, tomorrow you want to be on the down low. Then you start asking, but I don't use drugs, I'm not high on anything. How is it that my dopamine keeps
shooting and dropping?
Then you start realizing that ideally your mental, emotional well-being is at stake. And that is where you talk to someone, or you just step on someone in town, and the next thing you know, you're in an ambulance. That guy has hit you so hard. It's not because this person actually wanted to react in that way, but they are a boomerang away from being something they have never thought. Now, that's why you see people killing each other, even in couples, for instance. This guy is not a killer, but there's just something that needed to be triggered in them, and boom. And so, withdrawal, suicidal thoughts, mood swings, these are all indicators of a man who is struggling to find themselves.
And maybe if I should just cut you short, because even just mood swing or appearing moody, apparently it's not manly. So we are told, why are you moody? Are you a woman? Like, those are the things that are there. That's what the society has said.
But isn't it sad that we have attached feelings to women? Isn't it unfortunate that our feelings have been so ukonomama? It is so unfortunate that we've gotten to a point where feelings are actually attached to women.
Yes.
So it's like, for men, it's like you're a robot.
Yeah.
Basically, your emotions should never show. And so ultimately, you get to a point where your emotions become so constrained that you become cold. So you walk around and you're like, why are men so cold? But the society has nurtured them to be this emotionless, feelingless kind of people who are like robots. And so when eventually mental health issues start coming in, then again you're blamed. They're like, but we weren't you strong enough? Why weren't you able to handle these things your way? So I think this conversation will be a very emotional conversation, because it actually calls us to retrospect and thus start asking ourselves, where are you as a man? Leave alone the finances, leave alone your social aspects, leave alone everything else. Now let's talk about our mental health. If your mental health was put on a weighing scale today, what would be said about your mental health? Because we are kings of mask. We mask so much. Meya today could look at you and imagine Meya is okay. But if I could only be able to actually scan through your minds, even now as we're talking, you could be thinking of how you're going to get your next meal.
That's very true.
And we're here having a very lovely conversation, very hearty conversation. But at the back of your minds, there's so many things that are going on that you may not be able to mask.
Wow.
So as men, this is a conversation that now takes us out of our comfort zones and masks the hidden struggles in us. You see those tears that you don't see in your eyes. Now this is where we start seeing them.
So guys, this is the topic, this is the conversation. Very uncomfortable for men. Men don't want to talk about their issues because that's what the society expects them to do. But here at the main sCave, we speak, we talk, we share out our experiences, we share out what we feel, how we feel it, and what it makes us, or how it makes us to react or respond to situations. So one thing I'm getting from this conversation is that there are indicators of a mental illness or a destabilized mental health among men. And some of these indicators, I know we've just mentioned three. We have talked about the state of withdrawal. We have talked about suicidal thoughts, and we've talked about mood swings or being moody, things that are not, according to the society, are not manly. And so we are here and we're just going to have this conversation even deeper, because for now we have to conclude for this episode, but we are going to continue. We are going to dig out the things that are hidden, the things that are deep-seated in somebody's heart and they are not willing to share comfortably. We want to make you feel comfortable to share, because as I have mentioned earlier, problems shared are problems have solved. And so we believe that by so doing, we will be able to help men out there, and we want to hear your stories. As I said, that comment section is your place. Nobody is going to judge you. Share how you feel, what you think that we can talk about. Maybe you are there and you are deep in that mire and you do not know how to get yourself out. We believe by the grace of God, we'll be able to talk about it, and we'll be able to pray and to help one another. And whatever, we want also to be very categorical. Whatever we are not able to do, we as the your host at the TCG, we know we also have professional counselors. We know people who can really help you. So do not sit down. Do not allow, we do not want any man to go down. It is enough. People have already gone down and we cannot handle it anymore. So feel free. if you can DM to direct message, I know we are going to share on, as you watch, you're going to see the email address that you're going to share your concerns. If you feel like you want to call, you can request on that comment, and you can be able even to DM you the right messages, the right contacts for you to be able to reach out. So this is men, this is Meya and sCave, this is the TCG television. So your parting shot, what do you want to say?
Men, it is okay not to be okay. We need to get out of this narrative that as men, it is our prerogative to mask. It is time to get the mask off. It is time to actually live the best life. Because it is not until when we get to a point where we actually agree that it is okay not to be okay, that we'll be able to address some of these issues that bedevil men. And so from today onwards, just know that it is okay not to be okay.
Sure.
The moment you agree that mental health is as important as physical health is, that is the moment men will begin to heal.
Sure. So this is the TCG television. This is the Meya and sCave. We are glad to have been hosted here by our amazing partners, the Sugar and Crust. So till next Friday, see you and God bless you. Bye.
See you.